Community meeting regarding an application to amend the Hamlin West Planned Development. The number is LUPA 2306-197. And this meeting was called by your District 1 Commissioner, Nicole Wilson, who is on her way. Obviously, you've got a lot of development going on out here. The Commissioner does like to hold a lot of community meetings, even for very small applications. So people can stay informed. There's her email address. So the request is to rezone a little over 1.5 acres from what is now A1, which is the old Citrus Rural District, agriculture, and into the Hamlin West Planned Development. Also, they will apply an approved waiver that was previously approved for the rest of Hamlin West to the additional property. That waiver allows essentially for a decorative screen fence as an alternative to a masonry knee wall along framework streets. Those are the larger major streets within Horizon West. There are no additional entitlements requested with this application. The development program that is set for Hamlin West would remain the same. It's located on the west side of Avalon Road. And it will most likely, because it is being put into a retail and wholesale district, be used for commercial or non-residential uses permitted within the Hamlin West PD. There's the overall map of the location of it. It's essentially very close to the intersection of New Independence Parkway and Avalon Road. This is a future land use map. Everything in this area are the Horizon West villages. That land use category within our comp plan requires all new development in Horizon West to be put in planned development zoning. Hello, Cammie.
Hi.
From District 1 staff. Requires everything to be put into planned development zoning before new development can take place, other than, very sparse single-family homes. This is the current zoning map. As you can see, mostly planned developments around there. Hamlin West, you can see Wincy Groves to the west, and also Silverleaf over there to the west and to the south. As you can see, this is a small piece that was sort of a holdover or holdout piece that was not placed in the original Hamlin West PD. And it's sort of an outlier there with the old agricultural zoning on it. So this is what it would look like if it was approved. It would be included into the Hamlin West Planned Development and be zoned as planned development. This is the Horizon West Special Planning Area map, which details the type of land uses and to a degree says what the entitlements will be throughout Horizon West. This is essentially a small outline piece that originally I think was residential, and it's being included into the existing retail wholesale district for that area. It's called RW4 for that area of Hamlin West, and it will allow commercial, non-residential uses as allowed within the Hamlin West Planned Development. This is a relatively recent aerial showing what the property looks like now. Obviously, a lot of stuff being cleared and a lot of new development. You have the Wincy Groves neighborhood there to the west. This is the land use plan that's been submitted, and the only change from the previous land use plan that was approved for Hamlin West, as you can see, is shaded in up there in the corner. You can see the parcel that's to be added. I did add those yellow highlighted arrows just so you could see where the existing access points on the land use plan are located. Those two to the south, the one that's south on New Independence Parkway and the one on the Avalon Road, are supposed to be right in, right out only. Now they're already in the land use plan. Whether or not whether they will all be used or not remains to be seen. That would be for the next stage of development. So just going to go through some frequently asked questions. What type of development could take place on the property if the request is approved? So that's the current Hamlin West Planned Development. The entire development program for everything is 864 multifamily, 225 townhomes, and a little over 600,000 square feet of non-residential uses. This particular application is just adding property, but it is not adding anything to those entitlements. The additional lands being included in a retail wholesale planning district, and that is intended to accommodate retail businesses, personal services, office and warehouse, showroom type of uses. So in other words, commercial non-residential uses. What you do on the property now, you could build a single family home on it, but you couldn't do anything else with it under current county policy. Folks always ask how will any increases in traffic be taken into consideration. There is a road network agreement. These network agreements exist for all the planned developments within Horizon West. There will need to be a supplement to that will need to go to the Board of County Commissioners simultaneously with the rezoning request. What that agreement does is it does provide for a fair share payment based on the development program, and I think to a degree also the acreage, for future improvements, basically at Avalon Road and New Independence Parkway. They must submit and get transportation concurrency when development does come in before they get the permits. Long-range plans do call for improvements to Avalon Road and New Independence Parkway, and those improvements are currently in design phase. There is an adequate public facilities land requirement for Horizon West. That is being met with this particular application by another request, a change to the Silverleaf PD that's going to transfer a small number of credits necessary to accommodate the adequate public facilities requirement for Hamlin West and the addition of this new property. And also the agreement for Hamlin West, the adequate public facilities agreement, will be updated to reflect that change. That will also go with the rezoning. The waiver that's requested, as I mentioned, it's in the code. It was previously approved for the Hamlin West PD, and it allows for a decorative screen fencing as an alternative to a masonry knee wall. There are standards within the code that, first of all, allow that change if the Development Review Committee approves it, and then also there's standards for what that screen fencing should look like, and that's right there in that second paragraph. And the justification for that is that it would then match what you see in a lot of the other developments in the Hamlin area. So in this process, there's no problems with the future land use map or need to amend that. So they've submitted the land use plan application to rezone the property as part into the PD. This has already gone before the Development Review Committee. It went on September 20th. However, we did get a request from the commissioner to have the community meeting. So this was the nearest date we could get. So we're having it today on October 30th. It will still need to go to the Planning and Zoning Commission and to the Board of County Commissioners. Those hearings have yet to be scheduled. We do need to coordinate that with the other items that I talked about, the change to the Silverleaf PB to transfer the APF credits, and also the change to the road agreement and also to the APF agreement. We want to take all of those together, or at least as close as possible. Get this question a lot. If this rezoning is approved, what's the next step? Because you're not seeing a lot of detail here. Once the land use plan is approved and the property is rezoned, if and when they want to develop that particular property, they have to submit a development plan for approval. The development plan includes a lot more detail than the land use plan. That is reviewed by county staff. It goes to our Development Review Committee for approval. That's a committee made up of 5 department heads who review all of the development plans and other applications dealing with planned developments. It is not a public hearing, although it is a public meeting and you are welcome to attend. However, the decision of the DRC can be appealed to the Board of County Commissioners. So your opportunities for public testimony, public hearing will be at the Planning and Zoning Commission. Like I said, that date is yet to be determined. The meetings are the 3rd Thursday of the month, starting at 9 a.m. in the County Commission chambers in downtown Orlando. And also the same for the Board of County Commissioners. If you wish to contact your District 1 Commissioner, Nicole Wilson, or any of the other commissioners, you may do so, or the mayor, and those are their email addresses there. And that is my presentation. The applicants are here and can answer any questions that you may have, or any questions you might have for me. So,
quick question. The Wawa that's going in, we were told doesn't need approval. That is part of the PD and they can just do it. So this would need approval, but that doesn't?
Okay, the Wawa, and I know y'all, I know about the Wawa. I will be honest. I know the Wawa, it's in progress, it's in review. I am not doing anything with the Wawa, that's all I can tell you about the Wawa.
I'm just talking about
the Wawa is at that development plan stage. So the property where the Wawa is proposed, that was already part of Hamlin West, and it was already in a retail wholesale district. And the planned development, the development program allowed, and the development order allowed them to build that type of use there. They still have to get the development plan, and that's the progress they're in now. And of course, you've had community meetings on that, and it's not uncommon for commissioners to call community meetings on development plans, even though, at least initially, when you first do a development plan, it doesn't have to be approved by the Board of County Commissioners. But like I said, the decision can be appealed to them.
I think his question really is, why does Wawa not get to be appealed to the Board of Commissioners?
Because they were already in Hamlin West.
Not until January. That parcel wasn't in the planned development until January of this year.
Yeah, but it's still in.
So
Yeah.
and this one you mentioned could be appealed to the Board of Commissioners.
No, it has to go to the Board of County Commissioners.
To take this piece of property and rezone it and make it part of the Hamlin West Planned Development, they have to rezone the property. That is a public hearing process. You gotta go to Planning and Zoning Commission, you gotta go to Board of County Commissioners. When you do your development plan under current Orange County Code, it has to be reviewed by county staff. It has to go to the Development Review Committee for approval, but it doesn't have to go to the Planning and Zoning Board or the Board of County Commissioners. However, if you choose to, or that decision can be appealed to the Board of County Commissioners. In other words, anyone who has standing can say, I want to appeal the decision of the Development Review Committee, and I want this to be heard by the Board of County Commissioners. But the typical process for a development plan, if you're already in the PD and you've already got the entitlements, no, there isn't a public hearing process. So it was just at a different stage. So this is a little outlier piece that wasn't in there, and they're adding it. And as far as I know, I don't think there is an end user in mind for this property yet. Okay. So
I have two questions, one for staff and one for the developer. In the presentation, it talks about no additional entitlements are requested.
Right.
In the January 19th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting with Boyd Development, the staff recommended affirmation of 19 main waivers with multiple subparts, and the only thing new for Boyd was the decorative fences. For this parcel, do they also get, without anything else being done in the staff report, those same 19 main waivers and the multiple subparts? That includes, for example, building within 15 feet of the property line, can build a 55-foot high structure, can have 7-foot minimums and 15-foot maximum front setbacks, can be townhomes, because the zoning piece you said, I think it's just planned development, where there seems to be some affirmation or belief that it would be commercial. It could be within 40 feet of the rear setback instead of 60 feet. So all those things, is that what you mean by no additional entitlements, that none of those apply, or all of those kinds of things apply?
Well, there's let's get our terms straight.
Let me ask the second question.
Yeah.
The one for the developer is, I'm not understanding why the developer isn't repeating what he did in 2016. In 2016, the developer, Mr. Keith, you went before the county and you got approval of a small scale development plus rezoning. I'm not understanding why you're not doing the same process now. And the reason for that question is, I think the the community has a great deal of hesitation because first thing a question related was Wawa. And I think there was a lot of hesitation because we as the public got something that has water safety issues, traffic safety issues, pedestrian issues, and essentially we were told it was a done deal. This is even closer to homes, and I think we want to have some assurance in a public setting where we have an opportunity to be heard in a public setting, what the actual property is going to be used, so that we can help weigh in before it's a done deal and our voice has no meaning.
Well, you're here now, so that's a start.
No, but we're not here before decision makers.
But you are.
Well, you are now.
He presented that
So-
he presented that this will have to go to 2 public hearings: the Planning and Zoning
Yeah.
Commission and the Board of County
So,
Commissioners.
so the first question really relates to the no additional entitlements and how that relates to those 19 main waivers and those multiple subparts that Boyd got as part of all of their property. And the second question is really in terms of why aren't we hearing about the actual development, and the process from the developer is to get the actual development agreement and the zoning done at the same time in the same public process.
Okay, that's a lot there. We got to get our terms straight. When I say entitlements, I am not talking about waivers. That is something different. Entitlements are the development program, the number of units or square feet that you are allowed to build on the property that is within your planned development, within the boundaries of that. Those are your entitlements. No new entitlements to Hamlin West are being requested for this. They're just asking to add that piece of property into Hamlin West.
So it doesn't matter that it's a different developer.
No.
No.
Because all the other stuff related to Boyd, in terms of how the staff made the.
It's not a different developer. It is Boyd. I'm the applicant. I'm represent Boyd Development.
Okay,
They're the owner of the property.
okay.
They had, and if I could just speak for a second, I think they had always anticipated including this property within their development, but they didn't own it until recently. So they purchased it now, and they're bringing it into their development. As far as the other waivers, we went through them all, and they don't really apply to this development except for the one on the decorative fencing, which is the one that's been called out as being applied. It is surrounded by and will be incorporated into that other development. In fact, there's not even an additional access point asked for, which if it were a different developer, they would certainly probably ask for their own access point. It's going to be internally integrated into the access of the rest of the stuff in that corner, the rest of the development in that corner. So it is the same development, same developer. It's all Boyd.
And just for clarity, it wouldn't matter if it wasn't. What happens when this gets rezoned, it's a bucket of entitlements. So what really matters is who owns the piece of property when they come in for the development plan. They take from that bucket of entitlements to do their
So all those things that happened in January, that long list of affirmations of
the waivers.
the waivers.
Yeah, so the waivers
Apply
are
to
going to
this
apply,
parcel as well.
will not apply to this parcel, just the one
Just the
waiver
one
that
they're
request. They
asking.
have to re-request the waivers that they want to apply to this piece of property, and it's only that one waiver for the fence.
So if they want to get closer to the property lines, they have to ask for a waiver.
But understand, we are surrounded by, this piece of additional property is surrounded by the rest of existing zoned Boyd Development, Hamlin West property. So we don't abut the residential. There's an intervening piece in there that for the piece that's being added.
Again, we're just concerned as residents there because we were all under the impression from the builder that, that was gonna be an area like Shoreside Way where you had small shops and ice cream restaurants and things that we could actually walk to. And so that we're just concerned if we let that extra piece go or not fight about it, that we're gonna have a Dollar General or another gas station or something right there, right up against us. That's why we're hesitant over all of this.
We do have the ability to place conditions on an approval. We have to be cautious though, we can't, differentiate retail from other types of retail. We can prohibit like a gas station,
Right.
but we can't prohibit a Dollar General. You know, if we allow retail, it's just retail. But we can have the ability to types of uses, and gas station could be a use that we can prohibit right there. There could be other types of uses that may be undesirable that we
I
could
was just saying,
prohibit.
Horizon West Code actually has, some good ones already baked in, right? So like, no, we don't have any.
Like tattoo parlors and.
No, vape shops, no, like, there's like a list of them that were baked in, but I think kind of understanding a little better what the applicant's saying, which is that they're making this puzzle piece big, because I didn't understand just now
Yeah.
either. So that, at the very least, what I think you're identifying that we've seen happen, that would concern is their setback waivers, wouldn't make a difference here anyway, because they would be getting setback to their own property.
Right.
Right, am I understanding this correctly?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to.
Sorry, this one was a puzzle for us also in my office, because there just wasn't a lot of information, but I think Jason explaining it as a bucket of entitlements and moving pieces out of this bucket into that bucket helps. I will tell you that I think if there was some way from our staff to somehow put together, we can try to share that in our newsletter, put an overall view of what the Hamlin West PD overall looks like. Because I think, unfortunately, sometimes some of you all came in for a piece or a part of this as it's come through. And it's hard, it's really hard, right? Because I can't,
Yeah.
I'm digging back to the old cases. Wait a minute, I think we're talking-
I've been doing this for 20 years, and I've been working for Orange County for about 2 years. And I find Horizon West very complicated. So I'm not surprised that you find it complicated and that you're a little confused. It's a system that it has benefits, but it can be also very complicated. And
So I think
we've
my
got a
request, if
lot
it's
of
okay
things
with you
going
all,
on at once.
is to get something that I can share that shows all those entitlements, right? So that they understand better what that means, because I do think if they've seen, just like, let's say there was something that was a transition, and I mean, we can talk about this when we.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But I do feel like getting the whole picture is important, and I think we've only seen these last couple maneuverings that were, a swap for the fire department or something like that, where I'm like, okay, that doesn't really tell me where the other pieces of the puzzle are going to be in place. So understanding all the entitlements that were issued, when they were issued, so that we can
Put the notices
share
over
all
there.
those. Is that helpful?
So we get an overall picture rather than.
Yes, what was promised, when it was promised.
Yeah, and if anybody has any questions, I've got a stack of my cards here. I am a good person to call, because I do look at this stuff all the time. And if you have questions, if you want to see any of the documents dealing with Hamlin West or any of the other planned developments around here, or you have questions, because like I said, yeah, it's complicated.
Yeah, and just so you know, on the back of the notice, if you received one, you should have, and if you haven't, if you sign in, you will for the next public hearing. There is on the back, the last question there, it shows what the bucket of entitlements is. 864 multifamily units, 225 townhome units, 630,000 square feet of non-residential uses. Obviously, that's not all going to go on this parcel.
Right, I was gonna say, it just doesn't
Yeah,
tell
about
us
to say.
anything about.
Right.
it.
That would be impressive.
Yeah.
So,
That's one word.
Well, and I mean, it's so confusing, right? You see that and you're like, where? Where is that? And I understand that part of what the applicant does is to figure those site plans out before they come back, but something that gives some kind of understanding what that
Does
means
the PS
geographically.
does the PSP break it down what portion of those entitlements is for this property?
It does, yes.
Okay, yeah, we can send out that. So there's another layer, the preliminary subdivision plan, that kind of puzzle, pieces of the pie. And for this piece of the pie, for this project, it's not this huge bucket of entitlements, it's a smaller portion of the entitlements, so we can certainly share that.
So Doug, you mentioned earlier in your presentation that you didn't anticipate it to be residential. How did you know that it won't be residential, it's just planning?
Because Hamlin West has these special planning districts associated with it. And this is being incorporated into a retail wholesale planning district. That's what the red is. So,
Do you mind going back to that overhead view of like from Boyd, the overhead view that you were just on?
PD.
Yeah.
retail wholesale, can you
Yeah.
define that for us, please? I mean, it sounds pretty obvious, but is this Dollar General, that's gas stations, that's, I mean.
The
that's pretty
definition,
much
which is from.
everything that's not residential.
The definition that's from the code was actually what I had on my slide, where? Yeah, this is the definition. Retail wholesale district is intended to accommodate regional retail business, personal services, office, warehouse, and warehouse showroom uses for the Horizon West area. That's pretty broad.
Yeah.
And that's where the development plan phase comes in and says, okay, what are you actually going to put there? Is that appropriate there? How do we design it in such a way that it's going to work?
So part of the piece of the pie for this is RW, it splits it out, RW4B. And when you look at the table for that, it does allow for, this is super small, but it's, it could be 180 multifamily units or 241,000 square feet of
I
non-residential.
think you get RW4B you're looking for,
Yeah, could be.
because we should be residential. Or,
I was gonna say, if retail wholesale has a unit, if you want to, we're doing our definition.
Here.
And I'm sorry, I'm being really slow today.
Is that it?
How do you know that it won't be a gas station or it can't be a gas station?
Okay, I
Another
apologize. It's,
24-hour
what I was looking at is four,
mega
this is
lights.
super tiny, it's 4A. 4B allows for 40,000 square feet of non-residential. So that's the piece of the pie of that whole bucket of entitlements is just 40,000 square feet of non-residential.
Per
And
parcel?
4B, it includes the Wawa parcel and this quadrant of that intersection.
And the answer to your question is, I don't know it's not going to be a gas station. I don't think. I mean, I think,
I mean, I can't imagine that
Yeah.
a gas station would go there.
Yeah.
I mean, if the Wawa's going there, that's not gonna happen.
CVS and Walgreens, I'm not supportive.
So-
but I can't tell you now, it's not gonna be a gas station. If in fact they have the ability, if that's a use that's allowed under the terms of the PD, if that's in the development order for the PD, then it could be. Whether it will be, we don't know yet.
I wasn't precise in my question, I apologize.
Mm.
How do you know that the parcel where Wawa and the sweet
Car wash.
potato or sweet tomato car wash, whatever, can't be appealed to the planning commission, and this parcel could be appealed to the planning commission when they're both in PD?
Well, so that's why we're here today, because this parcel that's outlined is not in the PD today.
Yeah.
That's what the request
Was
is.
this the planning and zoning? It would be.
No, it wouldn't be. The request going to the Planning and Zoning Commission is, can this be rezoned and included into the PD? And that same request goes to the board. And if they say yes, then it becomes part of the PD.
And then after the board acts, then the developer conceivably could put something in there, just like they did on the other parcel, that.
Well, they'd have to file a development plan with the county and tell us, here's what we're gonna do there.
The public would only know about it because they're very diligent
Correct.
with either staff
Seriously,
or,
very diligent.
or those that pay attention to stuff, which come from those 80 of us in the room. And then after the commissioner kindly calls a community meeting, we hear from staff that says, oh, well, here are your comments, but, sorry, paraphrasing what I heard in a polite way. We hear what you say, but there's nothing that you can do to stop it. There's nothing that you can do if you don't like our decision, because the commissioner will never hear any appeals because it can't be appealed. So why aren't we taking an opportunity as staff, having heard all the questions and concerns about water safety, traffic safety, pedestrian safety? It's just a stone throw away to hear from the community, hear from county commissioner's office, who has a better ear than all of us, and say, let's take this opportunity and put some additional land use codes on it, restrictions
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah, well, this is that process.
No, to say, use your little book there and say, okay, no 24-hour operation, no light pollution, which is really close to the rural district, no gas station,
And
no
24
liquor.
hours.
Why aren't we taking an opportunity that now
Yeah,
before
absolutely.
it gets to planning, before it gets to the commission,
Absolutely.
before none of us ever get to have a say?
Yeah, absolutely. This would be the and so this is quite, it sounds, I've heard gas station mentioned several times. I mean,
Well,
it's
there's
really
a
up
gas
to
station, there's 24-hour, there's light pollution, there's the traffic safety, there's water issues.
Noise.
Secrets.
I mean,
So we can-
it's abutting to a residential neighborhood.
So we can prohibit gas stations, have a condition of approval that prohibits gas stations. We can prohibit 24-hour uses. And we can do that. I always like to ask the applicant if they're amenable. They don't necessarily have to be amenable, but is that,
Things go better.
Yeah.
This is why we try to get out early, right?
Yeah, I don't know that I can answer that right now.
Okay. Well, we'll have an offline communication, but we're taking mental notes. So gas stations, we can't do anything about the water quality stuff. That's really left up to.
The issue
Runoff.
was runoff, and the property, I'm sorry, the business representative focused on tank safety, not runoff.
Right. it's
And there
the
are people
runoff
down
that-
here that are going to pay the price of runoff down the road, not tank safety. Because you take that parcel right across the street from this, it has a huge conservation network.
Right, so they are required, and Matt Callis, this may be in your realm, to hold the water on their property.
Yeah, one of the conditions of approval, excuse me if I lose my voice, my allergies are killing me. You probably heard me hacking and coughing over here. One of the conditions of approval we've added for this particular land use plan amendment coming in is to update the master drainage plan and re-review everything. So as these pieces come in, we ask that all that be updated, reevaluated, re-looked at as part of the process. And the same thing with the DP for Wawa. We'll be looking at that as well during that process. So all those.
As part of that review, does that mean that their water runoff could end up in our basin?
No, it's already the basins are already preset previously.
In the Lindsay Grove subdivision, we have that large basin on Orange Orchard.
Yeah, this, from the best of my knowledge, this piece here does not head west. It heads south and southeast.
Yeah, it doesn't drain into your
And I was
retention
gonna
ponds.
say, it makes me feel better to hear that they're looking at updating that master.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah,
feels
because
like-
there's a lot of development as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and you guys have heard, I mean, there's so much impermeable surface going in, it's such a fast period of time, and so many of we do have the recharge that Conserve 2 provides, but there's just so much loss of the natural recharge, and I know, there's been examples out here in Horizon West, actually, of the low impact development, which is a pretty incredible way of keeping some of that water, percolating right there, but hearing that there's a little bit of
And we're working on a low impact development LID process. And what that is kind of just an additional hit at doing water quality above and beyond what we have.
taking it in there instead of pushing it.
Yep. So it gets that first flush, treats it, and then eventually it all goes to the stormwater system and then gets treated again. So we're hitting it multiple times with that. So those LID programs will be coming out. I don't know if it'll come in on this one, but we'll look at those things. So those are areas that we want to emphasize.
That's good.
This is a question that I had with the Wawa situation, but it's not about the Wawa. This is another commercial property that's going to be impacting New Independence and McKinney, which are our only two ways in and out. Unfortunately, I work to the east, which means I drive into the sun going to work and I drive into the sun coming home. I've worked my whole life not to do that, but here I am. But I'm looking at coming in and I'm looking at a driveway on New Independence, I'm looking at a driveway on McKinney, I'm looking at one on Avalon, and I'm looking at more volume into this little area with these two. Listen, I build roads for a living. I know what roads look like, and these two 10-foot lanes with no bike lanes doesn't give you a whole lot of room, and you can't really get around anybody that's trying to turn. So how am I supposed to get in and out of my neighborhood with all this additional volume? Not just me, but everybody else that lives there. And I get the whole traffic study. Believe me, I've been a part of those. And the traffic study is gonna tell you that people can't get in and out of their houses, so, and there's no additional room for turn lane. You don't have the time, the distance to put in a right turn lane in the Woodsea Grove. How do we manage this with everything else that's gonna be happening right here and still protect us and our children, well, not my children, because I'm too old, but other people's children? Yeah, from getting
Yeah, our
run
neighbors'
over,
kids
or
are
getting
just as
out, or getting to school, and all the things that need to happen here. I as much as I don't want to go to work, I gotta kind of do it every day. So, how do we manage that?
So there will be a required operational analysis that will require looking at it, what's the movements, where the car's coming from, and at that point, telling the developers that they need to construct turn lanes so that you can still have the movement that you need to get to wherever you need to get to.
Well, I'm also just gonna say that New Independence Parkway from the intersection west is at 90% construction plan design.
Right.
So it would be a 4-lane segment through there out to Lake County type of.
No, yeah, but it's two. I think one's 11, one's 10 on each side of the road. So with a bidirectional concrete median that limits your access to and from. So everybody coming out of this plaza is going to have to turn right, just like we are when we pull out of our neighborhood, and we're going to have to somehow U-turn and go by the Wawa to get out of the proposed Wawa to get back out of our neighborhood. So you're building a bubble here that's just going to be nothing but congestion. And with everybody, listen, I got people on the road every day. I look at people driving; they're all on their cell phones. It's a disaster. So now we're going to add all this here, and it's just going to be accident after accident after accident. So,
I mean, I hear what you're saying, and to Jason's point, we do a traffic operational analysis to look at those movements when the development plan comes in. We can take a deep dive at that and make sure that's part of our conditions of approval on the development plan, that they look at those movements and see where, people are gonna be traveling to and from when that development plan comes in.
It's already a high impact area. Anybody leaving in the Publix area at 5 p.m., it's really bad right there. I bicycle to work. I take that ride as I work over by the Publix. And it's even hard for me to get across like Juneberry. No one stops, you can't get across. So there's already a very high volume right there.
So where are the proposed traffic lights along Avalon? We have a big hospital school there at Porter, and then, of course, we're at Lakeside at Hamlin. There's, that's a death every time you try.
I don't know for sure, Matt, unless you know.
Well, obviously the one here that's existing now, New Independence, and then as you head south, there's the one at Silverleaf, which came in through here, and then a Porter Road extension. That one's under construction in design, so that signal will be installed down there.
Okay, so there's nothing coming out of Lakeside at Hamlin.
On the north side, not that I'm aware of.
No.
The lights
If we get a note because I can send you what's at the very least, what I know has come, because we have those segment plans that you'll be able to see what's been presented so far. I just don't have a memory for when they.
Does the zoning permit that lot just to be a parking lot? To be parking?
For buildings that are adjacent, it could be a parking lot.
Are you asking it to just be a parking lot on its own, or?
Yeah. Well, because
Well, it had to be associated with the
Yeah, I think it
building.
would have to be associated with
Yeah.
a use, a permitted use.
How about a police substation?
If the police wanted to put a substation there, yeah, they could.
Oh, we've been talking about that. That's not these guys, that's me and Sheriff Nina. We've been talking about it. Honestly, there's been a lot of, they had to explore, they walked around, I think the undersheriff came out and walked around with the folks from Valencia on their property. I introduced them to the medical school folks, so there's been a lot of conversation on these.
Sure.
The right place, right?
Mr. Keith, a little further down on New Independence Parkway, before you get into the freeway, there's been grading of late. What's the plan for that parcel?
In the property?
That's just part of the continued mass grading. There's no plans for that yet.
Okay.
Yeah, they reseeded it looks nice.
Yeah. And the sheriff's office has been at the driveway a little closer, so there's been less frequent dumping as well.
Yeah, we've tried to, you talking about the one on the south side, we've tried to chain that off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wonder what the people that live on the backside of Woodsey Groves are gonna think about not having a wall between them and that,
Parcel.
whatever commercial ends up in that space. And the rest of the neighborhood has a wall, but those folks I don't think do.
So Doug, in your presentation about the decorative wall, I took your presentation to mean that the decorative wall was only on Avalon, and on the backside, it would still be a solid fence.
Yeah, because if I'm right, that the waiver is for the decoration you need along the street.
Yeah,
And it's along framework streets, and I think the only frameworks, well, I guess it would be, is it New Independence and Avalon, I think, or,
yeah.
but it has nothing to do with
I mean, we
buffers or screening you might have against.
could- Right, we could have an
backside.
internal
That-
street
yeah.
that it could apply to as well.
Yeah, so that, there are minimum standards for that, but we can
It's
also
that
look
road
at additional.
frontage
Yeah,
treatment.
yeah, so that is not a waiver for what may be required as a buffer between your neighborhood and that parcel. It's a design standard along the street side.
Out of, the Starbucks over, that little white wall, and it's hard to see out when you're rolling out, and if someone's riding the, that's what it would look like if they didn't get this waiver. So this, to me, the waiver for that one that's along the roadside actually keeps the pictures, because we have those big, we'll have the big multi-use pad there. And, you know, with the masonry walls, you cannot see a biker or walker coming this way, so having the transparent, or having the,
Yeah.
split rail or whatever.
And this is a case where the code actually says you can do the masonry wall, or it specifies you can get a waiver approved from the development review committee. It actually mentions it in the code. And I think that's the issue why, is there are areas where there are problems with having the wall. And they just wanted a little bit of oversight, so they said, you can do it, you do have to get a waiver through us when you do your PD. But we'll allow you to do that, so this isn't just one that's just sort of out there.
And
so, yeah.
that's on the front of Avalon and New Independence. So I think what you all are concerned about the back, right?
Yeah, I
The
was
west
just,
side of that property.
yeah, I didn't know if there was a requirement for a wall between the development and the residential.
I don't recall exactly what the buffer requirement is. I know there is a buffer requirement between the non-residential and residential. I just don't know exactly what it is.
I don't know offhand. Typically, we do require,
Capacity.
certain distance, landscaping, and usually some kind of fencing or
We
screening.
get a chance to
So.
see the PSP?
We can certainly add a condition that requires, like at the time of development plan, when they come in with the actual building where the parking is going, that we have another community meeting. But if we want a wall there, which I have to look at the code, I'd be surprised if it didn't require a wall there. We can put a condition that requires a wall there.
It will already be a substantial change because we're adding land to PSP.
Okay.
So
Okay. Let's look at the chance.
Is there anything else?
Can you point where the fire station is?
If you show an aerial, I
You
can
have to
show
go back to
where
the
it is.
big.
Kind of
the
the
big-
bottom.
Let me-
Four by numbers now.
Is our aerial zoomed out?
Well, I know where it is.
Or that one, it's,
There.
yeah, there's a new one.
This
Like a
isn't-
retention pond.
Isn't far enough down, but it's right here.
Yes.
right next.
It's essentially the new next one.
Yeah.
As a hospital,
Yeah, it's a little past now.
So anyway, we got about 15 minutes. If there's any more questions, we'll take them. We need to be out of here by 7 o'clock. But
I was gonna say, I
Please
have
take my
one
card.
portion you can send
if
us.
you have any questions, please feel free to give me a call. My direct line's on there. And I'm happy to answer any questions and send you anything I have on information on any of these developments or any other information you'd like. And I really, really appreciate you coming out. This is part of the process, and hopefully we can address some of these issues in a meaningful way. And we
Yeah, no, it's
apologize,
okay.
it gets confusing sometimes.
Hey, thank you, Orange County folks, thank you very much, thank you.
Thank you.
Folks, I appreciate it so much. My residents, if you are not getting, our newsletter, please make sure you're getting our newsletter, because we try to make sure that anything that's coming out, that we get it to you. And if you have any questions about, I was gonna say, if you have any questions after this, we can absolutely make sure we get connected to the applicant's team and to staff and get those resolved. So I appreciate you being here. I'm gonna, okay.